All right, welcome back everybody to another video. Today's Thursday and the lighting isn't so great today. It's pouring rain and the lighting is all weird. But we are going to read some awesome stories today, and we're going to talk about the Indian of sleep and stories about sleep from Chassidic Rebbes and different things about that. So first of all, who doesn't like sleep? So sleeping is awesome. So it's good to talk about sleep. So we're just going to talk about how sleep is, I guess, viewed in the Chassidic writings and different ideas about it and a few stories. So let's see what it says over here. It says over here that on Lel Hey Parshas Kiseitze, which is this week, in the year Taf Reish Chav Zayin, Rav Yitzchak of Neshchiz, Zechusim Yod Aleinu, he was telling over, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, the reason for sleep. Right? He was telling over the reason for sleep according to the Baal Shem Tov, that it is brought down in the name of the Arizal, in his writings, right? Very, very high reasons for sleeping, right? It's the concept of Moichin de Katnus, Gedei Lahalos LeMoichin de Gadlus, right? So what does that mean? That means that Moichin de Katnus is like when you're narrow-minded, small-minded. That's like little translation, I guess, small things. But really, what it means is like when you're in like a lower perception of spirituality to a higher perception of spirituality. So what does that mean in regarding, so that we could understand what he's talking about over here? So the Baal Shem Tov says, let me explain it with a mashal. There was a king who had a precious son. He had one son, very, very precious to him, right? And he sent him to war. And he said to him that everything, all the spoils of war that you get, right? He should send back to his house, a little by little, right? He should send back to the king little by little, right? And the king asked him, and the son asked his father, he said, wouldn't it be a greater honor if I sent, when I come back, Kishavya kol b'pam echad, right? Right? He's saying like, let me bring everything back after the war, and it'll be a great honor for us. It'll be a great honor for the king, So his father said, I'm worried that maybe Chas v'Shalom, the enemy, will come afterwards, let's say a different enemy or whatever, and take everything from you, right? So he says the mashal is like this. He says, since the neshama, right, our soul, the whole entire day is dealing with Torah and tefillah and mitzvahs and everything like that, right? So maybe meanwhile the Yetzer Hara will come and like make not everything worth it. Like you daven and learn for a few hours, and all of a sudden the Yetzer Hara comes and he makes you sin, and then everything in your day is lost, basically, right? Ki'ilu lost, chas v'shalom, right? And what does it mean? He says, therefore, Hashem gave us sleep. Therefore, sleep was given, that the neshama goes up, and the neshama is protected. Everything that your neshama got, it goes to Shemayim and like gives out over there. So, right? And therefore, so that's what he's saying. He's saying that imagine if you just did Avodas Hashem without any sleep, right? And then all of a sudden, you were doing Avodas Hashem, and then all of a sudden, you did a very, very big Avera, so like everything's kind of lost. So therefore, instead of that, Hashem gives us sleep, so you could sleep sometimes, and then your neshama can go up and everything can be guarded. And whatever it needs to do in the spiritual worlds for that to, that whatever you did goes out in the spiritual worlds, or whatever it means like that, right? So he's saying that's the same type of thing. He said that's the same type of thing with before Hashem gave Har Sinai, before Hashem gave the Holy Torah to us, right? The Jews were sleeping. That's what the Medrash says, right? Until Hashem came and woke them up, right? What's the reason for this? So Rabbi Yitzchak of Neshchiz says, the B'Shem Baal Shem Tov, he says that because they had such a soirus and hachana gedola for Matan Torah, right? And then maybe they were worried that it shouldn't be taken from them, right? All this preparation that they did for 3 days before, right? So now they're on a very, very high level. So what do they do with that high level? They put it in Shemayim. They went to sleep, and they were able to, save it. So that's really what the Indian of sleep is, according to them, is that you're like taking your energy and you're saved up Avodah Hashem, and then bringing it up to Shemayim and having it saved over there in the cloud. It's like being saved in the cloud, basically. Like, obviously not the same thing, but yeah, that terminology. Okay, so that's a cool reason for sleep. Now let's talk about a little story with the Maggid of Mezrich over here. It says over here, Pamachas. This is the Maggid of Mezrich and of Aaron of Karlin. He says when they were together in Mezrich, right? There was a story that one time on Leil Shabbos Kodesh, they were sitting together. Who's they? I guess one of the Chassidim and Rav Aaron of Karlin. There was, just the Chassidim were together, and they were going over this Torah that the Maggid had said, right? And the Rav Kodesh of Rabbi Aaron of Karlin was sitting in his room. And his lips were like moving. Pitoim shamu kol doifik bedelas ma'meshari shel harav hakodesh hamagid. Right. Then they heard this knocking on the door from the servant of the Maggid, from the Mesharis of the Maggid. It says, "Where is Rabbi Aaron?" Right. The Chassidim are like, "Oh, Rabbi Aaron is over there." Right. They said to him, "The Maggid has commanded you to stop saying Shir Shirim, because in your Shir Shirim you are making a lot of noise in the upper worlds, and the Maggid of Mezrich is not able to sleep." And the Rav HaKadosh, Rav Hillel of Parich said, he says, we can understand the Gedulas of the Rav, now we can understand the Gedulas of the Maggid of Mezrich, the greatness of the Maggid of Mezrich, right? That even though the Shir Shirim of the Rav HaKadosh of Rav Aaron of Karlin was mamish making noise in the upper worlds, but even so, the sleep of the Maggid of Mezrich was much more precious. That he needed to sleep for the main holy reasons. So we see over here that sleeping is a very, very holy avodas, a very, very holy part of avodas Hashem. Obviously, it doesn't mean to sleep till 2 p.m, but yeah. Pamachas, another story. We have Tzvi Hirsch of Zidachov, was by his Rebbe, the Choiz of Lublin. Yom Tov Achron Shel Chag, right? Shechal Boy Simchas Torah. He was there Simchas Torah. Right, I went into Shabbos, I guess, or whatever. On Erev Shabbos, the Zidachov was very, very tired from Hoshana Rabbah and the 2 days of Hakafos and everything like that, and he wanted to sleep a little bit l'chvoid Shabbos Kodesh. Al Kain, he davened mincha early, and he lay down in his bed, but his sleep was very strong, and he slept for such a long time until it became Shabbos, right? So the Rebbe of Lublin came to the shul for Tfilas Kabbalah Shabbos, and he saw that the Zidachov was not there, right? So they asked on him. So he asked about him, where is he? So he said, so they went to the hotel and they found him sleeping. And they told the Chayza, and the Chayza said, they said, should we wake him up or not? And the Chayza said, Chas v'shalom, he's sleeping a good sleep. Don't wake him up, right? Then Meyer finished, and the Suda came, and they asked again before Kiddush. They asked the Chayza, should we wake him up? And he said, he's sleeping good. Please do not wake him up. With a exclamation point. And then by the Suda, the Chayza was giving him a little shirayim from each thing, setting aside for when he does wake up. And they asked him again the third time, and he said no. And one of the Chassidim was not happy about this. He lost patience, and he went to the hotel, and he opened the door, right, without, like, very, very fast, and the Zittich woke up. And he ran, he washed his hands, he put on his talis, l'chvod Shabbos, and he stood up to daven. So the Chassid went back to the Chayzeh, and he said that the Zittich woke up. And the Tzaddik said, Choyte, or Shoyte. He says, Rav Hersheli was going up in his sleep from world to world, and he was already standing with his feet at the edge of the Heichel of Mashiach, and his hand was on the door to open it up to go inside the Heichel Pnima of Mashiach, and you came and you woke him up. So you see that by sleeping, you can the tzaddikim did very big avodas by sleeping, right? And there's just a few other inyanim over here from different things. They also that there's also an Indian over here that they would wake up people by covering the mezuzah, because they were so davik to Hashem that when they covered the mezuzah, so then they wouldn't be able to be davik to Hashem anymore. So they would wake up right away. It says over here, it says that one of the sons of the Tolasan Rebbe, what's it called? That the son would say that while the Rebbe was sleeping, it happened many times that when somebody would put his hand on the mezuzah, the Rebbe would wake up right away, because by the mezuzah being hidden, the dveikus would be cut off. So therefore, he would have to wake up. It said one time Rav Mordechai of Chernobyl was by the son of his sister, Rav Yisrael of Ruzhin, the Ruzhiner, and he saw how while the sons of the Ruzhiner, sorry, I just get confused with something like Ben Achos and all these things. He saw how there were tears coming out of the eyes of the sons of the Ruzhiner while they were sleeping, because of such high kedusha. And Rav Mordechai of Chernobyl says, this could only be next to the grandchildren of my sister, that they can cry in the middle of sleep because of dveikus. So that's and then the Divrei of Samar says over here that tzaddikim amitim, true tzaddikim, also in the time that they're sleeping, avodah shekodesh aleim, that they're still doing holy avodah, and they're serving Hashem, and they're doing big tikkunim neflayim, v'afgam oz nikru chayim, and they're still called like alive. Afilu b'misasim nikru chayim, u'mikol shechim b'chayim be'esh shinasim. When they die, they're still called alive. So for sure, also when they're alive and they're just sleeping, shirak echad mishishim b'misa, which is 1/60th of death, eitzel kol adam, right? V'adei she'etzam nechshav l'chaim nitzchim u'meminyan sheneseim, right? So by them, sleeping is like a whole more spiritual existence, right? He says, but not every moichin can handle. Not every person's mind can handle such things, and it's not by every single person over here. All right, one last story over here. In the house of the Rav Kodesh of Hillel of Parich, there was a middle of the room. There was this viloim, like a curtain. Ubechetzi abayis Yashua Talmidim v'lamdu v'asku b'chasidus. And in the middle of the house, half the house, the students would sit and they would learn and be oisig in Chassidus. And on the other side of the curtain was the bed of Rabbi Hillel. One time, Rabbi Hillel lay down in the bed to sleep a little bit. And when the students came, one of the students said that they shouldn't make such a lot of noise because the Rav is sleeping. V'shama Rabbi Hillel mash Omar yotze aleim Omar Vus heist are schloft or is the F is Ablafis Eifmer Ven Echis Schlafen I don't know what he's saying in Yiddish. He says, Mazeh Hu Yashin. What does it mean who is sleeping? Hayam Aguf Baal Brisalai. Kshani Mitzavalai Lishan Hu Yashin. Kashini Mitzavalai Lakum Hu Kam. He was saying that, like, the ending of sleep also, he says that, what does that mean he's sleeping? It means that, like, is the guf in charge of me? No, I'm in charge of my guf. So that's also a different way of looking at things over here. But anyway, those are the stories about sleeping. And it is healthy to sleep a certain amount of hours a night, and it, it does recharge your brain and all that good things, and it's very good to sleep the right amount. So everyone should get the right amount of sleep and should do it in a holy way also as well. And everybody should have a beautiful Shabbos, and we'll be back next week with more stories.